So I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Really been enjoying your EP, Seek Life.
Thank
And,
you.
I'm ready to dive into it. But before I dive into it, I want to give you a moment to really share your background and what you've been working on. You know what I mean? Because you've been doing this
Yeah.
for a little while. How long have you been, doing your ministry or your
All
artist?
right. So unofficially, just for fun,
Mm-hmm.
since I was like 15.
Okay.
But I didn't take it serious for real, until I was like 21.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that time span between 15 and 21, I was dibbling and dabbling a little bit, just playing around with some stuff. Ironically, I was still getting booked for shows, but I never thought that this would be like a real deal thing. I just kind of did it as a hobby. It was something fun to do.
Gotcha.
And when I graduated college, I was like, oh yeah, we finna do this all the way. Okay, God, let's go.
Gotcha. Where'd you go to college?
The University of Florida.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
shout out to all my Gators. Oh.
Gotcha. I used to go down there a lot, University of Florida. Okay.
Hey.
So what's one thing, and this is gonna be hard for you because you're so transparent, you share a lot, your heart all the time. But what's one thing you think you could share that people don't know about Erica Mason?
Um, Probably that I deal with an enormous amount of anxiety before I go on stage. Um, there's my parents calling me now.
Gotcha.
But an enormous amount of anxiety. I don't know what it is, but I remember it was a time where I did a show and it was like in an arena at school, and I think maybe it was like 20,000 people, and I performed. It was great. Next day, I go to school and I have a speech to do in my oral speaking, like public speaking class, and it was like 15 people in the class. I froze up. It was like, and I choked. I couldn't say anything. I just looked at everybody and they looked at me, and I was like, I have nothing.
I'm sure no one would expect that because you're so you seem like an extrovert. But I think a lot of people who come across that way on stage, I think feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe that I'm an introvert. People don't believe me, you're right, but I really am.
No one's buying it though.
I know, right?
No one's buying it. Not at all.
Real deal though, I promise.
No one buying it. So how would you describe yourself as an artist?
That is a good question. So in a nutshell, I'm an artist who really believes in being able to be passionate, and being able to be authentic. Those two things, at the end of the day, if nothing else, when you listen to my music, you will hear some passion and authenticity, or AKA vulnerability and transparency and stuff.
For sure.
So when it comes to everything that I write, when I approach my writing process, I am not able to write songs. They call it writing in the air, when you're just trying to pull stuff from anywhere to create. I'm not able to really do that. I have to find a point in time in my life or someone else's life to really be able to capture that moment, to write about it, to give a person a visual and a feeling, because music is just about what the words are saying, but it's about how it makes you feel with what's being said. And it's kind of hard to do that without having some type of experience or attachment to it. So yeah, that's the kind of artist I am. Like, you're gonna get something from me that's raw and authentic and passionate.
Gotcha. Love that.
Yeah.
So, one last question before we dive into some of the work you've been doing. Who are some of the mentors that have kind of helped you come along the way? Because breaking into this field, and I don't even know how you think about it. A lot of people think about it as, Christian hip hop or the gospel industry or just artistry. First of all, how do you think about it?
As far as the different genres, I mean, I see them as what they are. They're genres.
Right.
But I feel like the genre doesn't define your relationship with God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I know people who are in gospel who may not necessarily be Christian. But I also know people who are in the secular arena who are diehard, like, love them some Jesus.
Right.
And so as it pertains to gospel, CHH, and secular, I think that it really just should align with where God is calling you to be and where he's calling you to go.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of like my take on it. It's like I don't think that there's anything wrong with any one of them, but it's so important to really know yourself regardless to what genre you're in, because if you don't know yourself and you don't know where God is calling you and what he's called you to do, it's so easy to allow that, like, because at the end of the day it's business, you know.
Right.
It's the music industry. Like when you're talking about the music industry, you're talking about business,
right?
And so there's ministry to it, yes. There's Jesus to it, yes. But each and every one of these sectors, there is a business element, which is why they are a genre.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to know how to navigate the two and understand that, okay, I love me some Jesus and I'm sold out for God, but this is the lane that he's called me to. So how can I be the effective Christian in that lane?
Right. So. That's awesome. And you know, that kind of points to your, just like you said, authenticity, right? Knowing who you are, walking in that. So who are some of the folks or a person or two that you might mention that helped kind of guide you as you were moving in your artistry and trying to break into, let's just call it the industry, right?
Yeah, definitely. So as it pertains to this last season that I've been in, my mentor or coach is Amber Stevens. And honestly, to sum it up, she met me when I was a hot mess, like just the hottest of hot messes, like just a hot mess. And she was able to really love me where I was at. So I think it's really important to have really great business mentors, but also spiritual mentors. And she was both, really. She has a very great business mindset, but then also just taught me about understanding that, hey, being yourself and being on the journey to being yourself, it's not easy. So whoever told you that trying to be yourself is easy, they lied. Because it's the whole process of trying to figure out who you are, and then having to align that up with the wrong mindsets that you have about who you are, because God says that you're one person, but oftentimes we struggle and think that we're another person.
Right.
And so she has this course called Embracing Me. And I've been able to be one of the first few people to take the course. And the course really just talks about understanding your identity, but then also being able to be comfortable and confident in who God made you to be. So it's one thing to know who you are, then it's a whole nother thing to accept it, and then a whole even another thing to like be confident in that. And so prior to meeting her, I think I was like all over the place, just trying to figure out life. Like, I mean, I was hustling and not hustling like selling drugs, but I was like just trying to make moves and make money with the industry and stuff like that. And God told me to slow down, and I met her, and my life changed. So that's definitely probably to this day, like one of the most life-changing relationships that I have.
That's awesome. Was she, a lot of what you talked about that you went through with her feel like has shown up in some of your work with, is it Pretty and Radical?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I met her, she was the person that helped me to give a language to what the vision that God was giving me. So I'm a visionary, but sometimes the language for what I'm actually supposed to do is like all over the place, because sometimes it's hard for me to kind of explain what I see and things like that. And her coming into my life, what she did was she spoke into me. She spoke life into me. She spoke what God was saying over me. And she did it time and time and time and time and time again. And to the point where she said it so much, I ain't had no choice but to believe her.
Right.
So it was like, at this point, you know, I'm like, okay, I get it. Jesus loves me. And that was the biggest thing. I think one of the most important lessons that she taught me was that God's love for me is unfailing, no matter what I do, no matter how garbage I think I am, or no matter how garbage I may actually be. His love for me is so powerful that it covers all of that crap. And all he sees when he looks at me is his son. And so being able to understand that, like, he won't ever leave me or forsake me, like those kind of foundational things that, you know, I thought I knew, but I didn't really know until I had to apply that junk.
Right.
So yeah, that's that.
That's good. That's good. So let's transition into Pretty and Radical. That was your EP in 2016. And, you know, to me, when I listened to some of it, the key message was about accepting and embracing your authentic self, right? Really focused on young women. So what brought that? I think what you just explained about your mentor helped bring that to life. But what was the impetus for kind of bringing that whole Pretty and Radical movement to the forefront?
So I'm sorry, what was the what?
Kind of the impetus, like what made you say, yeah, I got to get out front with this, like, because it seems to be a prominent part of what you began to push at that time.
So initially it wasn't that deep. It started out like people would always ask me, how would you describe yourself as an artist? And I honestly was like, well, I like to be pretty and I'm pretty radical. So pretty and radical. Like, so that's how it started. But then, like I said, God began to give me language for it. And so it started to become more about not necessarily, so it started as I didn't want to be the girl that looked like the guys trying to get acceptance from the guy because I was a rapper. That's where the pretty came from. I wanted to show that you can still be feminine and still like kill the stage and still be super dope as a female rapper and all this stuff. And then the radical part is that's just my natural nature. I am a very radical person. And that's just when I am passionate about something, when I believe in something, it does not matter. I will not waver. I will not falter. I am going after that thing. And I'm telling everybody else, and I'm bringing a whole bunch of people with me. And so Pretty and Radical actually began to transform as I began to grow with God. And so it became less about, I just want to be a pretty girl on stage, and to more being about who am I and do I really value the woman that I'm looking at in the mirror? Because really I struggle with insecurities. I struggle with feeling like I was beautiful, or feeling like honestly, because I'm a little tomboyish at times. And so I struggle with, dang, am I cute enough? Do guys really like me? And things like things that girls normally think about. And I was challenged because the word says, you know, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And then I'm in the mirror looking at myself like, nah, fam, you know. And so being able to be on that journey, and then it evolved into, okay, now it's about not just my physical appearance, but my inward appearance, and really learning to love that person and being unapologetic about displaying that. So that radical part, because when you think of a radical person is, they are pretty much like, hey, regardless to whatever it takes, we will make sure that what we believe in is being displayed. We are standing firm in this. And that's how I feel like we should be as individuals when it comes to ourselves, like who God created us to be. Don't apologize. You know, I know we all growing and things, but more so like, don't apologize for how God made you. Like you're his beautiful creation. Like there's value in the fact that you are the way that you are. And so, that's kind of how it transitioned. And so I got to travel around and speak to a lot of girls and perform at a lot of different women's conferences and events and stuff, just really empowering them to learn the woman in the mirror and then learn to love that woman.
That's good. That's good. So now you come 3 years later, this EP.
Yeah, man.
And I love it. The first song, The Conversation, you know, the one of the lines that struck me: what happens when I choose to confront the darkness in my heart?
What happens when I choose to confront the darkness in my heart? A place where fear and anxiety consume me, and vulnerability is uncovered. Where I find myself questioning the creator of knowledge and wisdom, wondering if I'll ever survive. You see the real me, but I see who I should be, who I am now, it's that's just enough. See, I put so much pressure on myself to be like you, 'cause I'm afraid what they gon' say when they see I'm not you. So many people, man, they wanna be just like me, but if they saw my flaws, so many people wouldn't like me.
Yes.
Let's just pause on that. To confront the darkness in my heart. Like, what, to your point of, you're saying like people like, write lyrics in the air, and you can't do that, right? You have to start from a place of substance, right? Mm-hmm. What was the substance that you were starting with?
So there, that line came from my journey when I moved out to Atlanta. I didn't want to move to Atlanta. God told me to move to Atlanta, and I was high key mad because I was comfortable where I was at, but at the same time, I'm radical, right? So God, I'm gonna obey you, and we're gonna make this thing happen. Well, when I got out here, it was almost like God was leading me into the wilderness, because I got to a place where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any relationships besides me and my sister and brother. That was it. And they were also on their own little journey. So it was kind of like me being in my little bubble for a minute.
Gotcha.
And so that's when I actually met the mentor when I moved here. So that's when I met Amber, and God took my life in almost like this, basically. Yeah. But what happened is I realized, boy, there is some ugly things in my heart as it pertains to how I see God. Meaning I question him as not just my provider, but I question him as my father. I question him as my protector. I question him as the person who is so sovereign, but yet, God, you would let these things happen to me? Or why would you, move me out here and just for me to be consumed with loneliness, and to be consumed with, I was attacked with depression and just anxiety. And so it was like that first year being here, it was a lot. It was tough. And I realized that I was angry at God. I didn't even know, I'm thinking me and God are cool, but there are things in my heart that started to pull from my past that started to kind of trigger me. And it's like, how the word talks about, like when there's pressure, the impurities, when like you purify gold, the impurities.
That's right.
Come on top. And that's what was happening to me. It was just so much pressure, and I was being crushed, and all of this gunk came up. And I had what I had to do in order for me to move past that. I had to address it. And so it's like, what happens in that moment when you are faced with the reality of your heart is not as pure as you think it is? What do you do then? Right. How do you move forward? Do you just continue to run and be like, well, God knows my heart? Yeah, he know your heart. That's why he's trying to put this pressure on you to change.
The crucible. Yeah, absolutely.
But, so yeah, that's where that line really came from. It's just me taking an inward look at myself and saying, you know what? Erica Mason does not have it all together. Erica Mason has a lot of flaws. And the good news is that God is right here willing to walk with me through that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. One of the lines that again jumped out to me is, you talk about this, questioning yourself, right? A place where fear and anxiety consume me and vulnerability is uncovered. And I'm just gonna say to everybody, one, we wanted to play some songs, but I'm not going to even try to mess with the technology and play some songs. So that's out.
Yeah.
Okay. And we play it back. We'll do that. But two, when you go through this EP, people, pick it up, take your time and listen to the lyrics. The lyrics are important. Because, lines like, but who am I to criticize how you created me? I see brokenness, but you see beauty in how you're shaping me.
But who am I to criticize how you created me? I see brokenness, but you see beauty in how you're shaping me. You gave this breath of life, and I know I keep on blowing it, but in my imperfections, you get the glory you're supposed to get. And I ain't perfect, and that's just an understatement. I can't do this without you. Somebody underline that statement. And I'm a leader, and I know these people watch me. But if I make one mistake, then they label this stuff hypocrisy. But they don't even know what I've been through, and they don't even know where I came from. If it wasn't for you always holding me down, then I know that I wouldn't have came up. And that's real talk, but they don't want to hear that. They just want more songs, they just want more rap. They want a perfect album and a perfect artist, but only the creator can define what perfect art is. A truth be told, man, I'm my biggest critic. See, I'm too afraid to fail, cause I don't think that I can win this. But who do I serve? Is it man or myself? Dang, maybe it's both. I don't know, all I know is I'm trying to be perfect and claim that I'm giving these people some hope, but I'm losing my hope. I know that it's not realistic. I know that I'm broken, I'm Mrs. Fix It. I know I need help, I never will listen. I'm running this race, I'm never gonna finish if I ain't got you. That's what I always say. It's one thing to quote it, but I don't act that way. To be real, I'm just afraid to disappoint myself. Not to mention God, my church, and everybody else.
It just makes me reflect on, I have nieces, right? Other people I know and love. And you watch this effect of the media, the mirror now of social media, and that being the measuring stick, right?
Yeah.
And being bombarded. It used to just be commercials, right?
Right.
And whatever. I'm dating myself, but Revlon commercials and whatever the case may have been, right? But now it's like multiple feeds, right? I mean, people have multiple social media channels and just this constant feeds and this mirror effect of, I got to match that. Because most of the feeds are only showing good things, right? Only people's good lives, right? And so you watch this other thing that's happening and growing, which is people questioning their faith. Right, whether it's being pulled in from different camps, and I'm not going to start mentioning camps because that's not what this is about. But what do you say to that younger person who is struggling to figure out, man, is God really real? If he's really real, why do I have to go through this, and so on and so forth? What do you say to that person right now?
Honestly, I found myself asking that same question, and I don't think the question is if God is really, if he's really real. I more so would challenge them to say, if he is not real, how have you made it this far? In everything that you've been going through, like if it's really this difficult, and people are going through some really tough things, right? And if it's really this bad, why aren't you dead yet? And because a lot of people are like, yeah, man, I done been through some stuff. I should have been dead. But the truth of the matter is, the only reason why a lot of times we're able to sustain the pressures that we deal with in life and the stress that we deal with in life is because of the grace of God on our lives. And it's very hard to see that and understand that at first, because, man, this mug is tough. Like, God, what are you doing out here? But that scripture that talks about all things are working together for your good, that is one that sometimes you just have to choose to believe it, even when you can't necessarily see it. Because at the end of the day, I challenge God like this. I'm just kind of like, yo, God, you tripping. I know some people gonna be like, oh my God, Erica, how can you talk to God like that? But I do. Sometimes I'm like, God, man, what's up? Like, what's happening with my life? Like, I know I'm really the one that's tripping, but I be trying to be like, yeah, God, you know, like, so it's the pride in me that really be talking. But so what I do in those moments is I get my feelings out, and I talk to God, and I'm just like, God, I hate the season where I'm in. I don't feel like submitting to you. I don't feel like listening to you. I don't want to be a Christian. I just posted something like this yesterday. I was like, I don't always want to be a Christian, and I don't always want to be on fire and passionate for you, God.
Right.
But nevertheless, because of your love for me, and I'm choosing to surrender my life, that is the key. I'm choosing to surrender. I have to trust and know that you are working something out for my good. And if I can just make it to the next moment. Sometimes we think, let me just make it to next week. Let me just make it to the next day. I wasn't in that place. I was like, I just need to make it to the next moment. And so what that meant was, maybe for 30 minutes, I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed. Like, I feel the weight. Instantly, my eyes open. It's just instant weight that just falls on me. And in that moment, I can't even think about tomorrow. I'm like, I need to get out of this moment. And so in that moment, it's like I choose to say, you know what? Okay, God, your word says that strength is, or what is it? Joy, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And so in that moment, I'm like, okay, God, I'm choosing your joy, even though I don't feel like it. And I'm going to take a step to get out of this bed. Even if I can't pray for a long time, even if I can't even say words, I'm just going to try to move my feet, and just at least lean on the bed for a moment, and those are practical things that I actually had to do. in order for me to kind of trust God. And in that surrender, that is where I realized that God is still God over my life. You know? So to that person who has that question, like, if God is really God, why is all of this happening? It's because God loves you so much that he wants to, one, allow certain things to happen to you so that he can reveal himself to you in another way.
Yes.
But then two, what situations and circumstance, when life happens, it allows God to stretch you and mold you and grow you. And ultimately, the whole thing is to bring you closer to him. He wouldn't allow anything to happen to you that would draw you away from him. You know, you have a choice, obviously, in the things that you do. But because God loves you and he says that all things are working together for
to that point of all things working together, it requires faith, right? When we can't see it, you know what I mean? And there's so many other areas that we put our faith in ourselves or companies. I mean, every time you flick on the light switch, you don't ask to see the current running, right? If you take a cruise ship, you can't see the destination for how long. You get what I'm saying? But you believe that you're going to get there, right? So we should trust God that much more. So, you know, here's some other lines, right? That I just love this. See, in the battle of my mind, I hear your peaceful voice. Daughter, I chose you way before you even had a choice. See, when you cried your tears, I was the one who bottled them. And when you popped those pills, I am the one who swallowed them. So I don't want to pry, but
no, go ahead.
What's behind? Here. Yeah, that's why we're here, right? So what's behind that line?
When you pop those pills, I was the one who swallowed them. It's a time that I tried to commit suicide.
Sorry to hear that.
And it literally, I tried. Oh, it's cool. I woke up.
Yeah, I hear that.
When I was just feeling so depressed. And I was feeling so just alone. I was defeated. I was feeling like there's no hope for me because at the time I just continued. Things that I dealt with was sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, emotional abuse. And so when you have someone who comes from a background of abuse, and then I didn't take the necessary steps to heal. Nobody was really there to kind of help me at that time. And so I was like, I don't want to live anymore. If this is all that life has to offer to me, there is no point in living. And in that moment, that's when I popped pills. I took a handful of pills and I popped them in my mouth. I woke up the next morning and God spoke to me and he said, you know, when you took those pills, I was the one who swallowed them. And in that moment, I realized that the love of God is so monumental, that it's so much bigger than me. Yeah. You know, it's so much bigger than that one moment. And that his love for me, it just covers me and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And so that's where that story came from. Like, I was tempted to commit suicide. I tried it, and thank God I wasn't successful.
Yes, thank the Lord.
Yes.
Wow, thank the Lord. Your Wi-Fi, I think your Wi-Fi is a little choppy. I don't know if you can check this. Kind of chopping back and forth a little bit. While you do that, I'm going to start talking a little bit about the next song, The Whirlwind. One of my favorite lines in that one, please don't get it twisted. You're the reason why I did it. Not to just have churches and religion. Having you is what I envisioned. So even when you're distant, I'll go the distance. Listen.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wake up. I don't want to wake up. Let me You gotta wake up. Now you have another chance. Open up your heart again. And it says, I see you drowning and it's hard to bear. I know you've been wondering if I'm still here. Roller coaster vibes, down for the ride. Back and forth, up and down, look around me and you side to side. I know you've been alone, know you feel so cold, know you've been so over this. But the way I feel about you, I can't let you go, I just can't get over this. You weren't meant to fight alone, you won't die alone. I got off that throne so you can have the kingdom. I took all that bondage on the cross and let them ridicule me just so you can have your freedom. Please don't get it twisted, you're the reason why I did it. Not just to have churches and religion, having you is what I envision. So even when you're distant, I'll still go the distance. Listen, lately it's been a whirlwind, wondering what my girl is. She's hiding in these churches, I know you're hurting.
So Whirlwind is actually not about me.
Okay.
The funny thing about Whirlwind is that it started off as a word from God to somebody else. I literally woke up one morning and God told me to just start writing, and I wrote the song in probably like 20 minutes. And he just literally began to just give me the lyrics and the words. And after that, he was like, now go give it to this person. And I gave it to that person, and it literally was everything that they had been going through. And they just bust down crying and everything. And after that, I was like, well, can I use this song on my project, because it relates to so many people? And they were like, yeah. But ultimately, that line in that part is really about like the fact that I think so much, many of us as Christians, we get kind of like in this place, like first we start off with God and we're so on fire, we're like the newborn Christian, and we're like gotta tell everybody about Jesus. And then it's like life smacks us in the face, or we may have been able to be with the Lord for a while and we kind of get a little stale or almost forgetful of that richness when we were babes, you know.
Right.
And God, when he was speaking, he was like, please don't get it twisted. You are the reason, not so you can build this church, not so you can be this worship leader, not so you can be this youth pastor, not so you can be, you know what I'm saying, like this person that has a title in church, but you are the reason why I got on the cross. And in response to the cross is why we have the church. Not because of all of this religious politics that happen.
Right.
And so that message was really about the religious politics in God saying that away with the religious rituals and politics, but I am more so concerned about your well-being. Is really out, and now they were so distant. Sometimes the fact that we as Christians, we go through so many things, and it kind of feels like we get lost in the midst of the storm.
Yeah.
And God is calling and saying, hey, I am with you. Like, I am not gonna leave you, I'm not gonna forsaken you, and I'm right here. All you have to do is turn around. I'm here. And so yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. The next one was Talks with Loneliness, which I think was the first single, right? Before the full EP dropped. Love that video. I can't make it rain unless I let you reign in my life. And I can't open up my heart unless I have you inside. Yeah. I said, man, whatever brother tries to court her.
Oh, it's gonna be real.
Oh man, he's gonna have a rough time. All I ever really wanted was someone on my side, but loneliness is not the one coming along for the ride. I said, I kept listening to it because I was, working on a review. And I was like, wow, yeah, there's a lot going on here. You've been knocking at my door, but I can't open it up.
It's crazy. It's like you wake up only to meet loneliness. I'm afraid to be alone sometimes, and I'm afraid to get outside my mind. I'm afraid of being vulnerable, 'cause what if I can never let you go, yeah? I can't lie, I run sometimes. I be weak for weeks and weeks, them long nights, I can't sleep. I want somebody next to me. That side of the bed is so cold. How I'm supposed to give my heart, mind, and my soul to someone that I can't see? God, please excuse me. I'm trying to be honest. Seeking you when I feel alone is the hardest. And my heart is just a canvas who is longing for an artist. Brush strokes on my soul. I hope eventually I get the picture. 'Cause I can't crop you out. 'Cause who you are is in the mirror. Go figure, I'm just trying to figure it out. And make 7 figures, but my soul has been in a drought. And I can't make it rain unless I let you rain in my life. And I can't open up my heart unless I had you inside. All I ever really wanted was someone on my side. But loneliness has been the one that's always down for the ride. And I don't always have an answer, so I question your love. And I don't always measure up, but still you say I'm enough. All I ever really wanted was somebody to love. And you've been knocking at my door, but I can't open up.
Yeah. So what's going on here?
So loneliness is probably one of the biggest struggles that I've had since I was a kid. I was just always different, and I didn't fit in with a lot of people. I got bullied as a kid and stuff. Yeah. So there's just a lot of that kind of stuff. I was always the person that everybody came to get their problems out and stuff, but I didn't always have someone to run to pour out myself to. Right. And so what is it? I can't make it rain unless you make it rain in my life. That part is really just talking about, I was trying to use a lot of different material things like validation from people, but then also money. Like I was trying to get this money out here. And I was like, and God spoke to me. He's like, the way that I have set your life up, because I prayed this prayer a long time ago and I forgot. I said, God, don't take me anywhere that my character can't keep me. And God was like, God already told me a long time ago when I was young that I would be wealthy and things like that. So I was going for that. I was like, I'm gonna have this paper. I'm good. Right. Money. Right. And I'm gonna be like the greatest ever. And I had a very competitive spirit. So I was like trying to be the best, better than anything and everything, And he spoke to me. He said, the way I set your life up because of the prayer that you pray is you're not gonna make it rain without me. And rain, throw the money up. I'm trying to make it that way. And so the open up my heart unless I have you inside is it is about relationships. So Talks with Loneliness is about me and God, but then also about just my relationships, like with people, with boyfriends and things. And so I can't open up my heart unless I have you inside, is because without Jesus, I probably will not be married. And what I mean by that is I didn't always, well, let's put it like this. Like, you know how some girls are like, oh my gosh, I want to be married. I want to be married. I want to be married. That is not me. That was not me. I was like, I'm loving my single life. Right. I don't want to be married. I don't want to be tied down. And in response to that, before God really kind of reeled me in, I would just be talking to different dudes or whatever, and with no intention to ever be serious. But I would be playing with their heart, Gotcha. And what happened was I would just kind of get to this place where I was emotionless. A dude would be feeling me and I would just be like, next, like, whatever, I'm good, And so that's what that means. Like, I cannot open up my heart unless I have God, because these walls are impenetrable. But with God, I've become so malleable, I guess, and so vulnerable and so loving and so like emotional and stuff. And it's a really great thing, but that's all because of God. So yeah. That's strong.
So no regrets. You love me when I couldn't love myself. Yeah. That's the chorus. You just say it several times. You love me when I couldn't love myself. Yeah. And what's so interesting is that's the song before Wake Up Call, right? So the construct of this EP was very interesting to me because it's one of the few I've heard in a long time that felt intentional is not the right word. That's what I'm looking for. Well, maybe it is intentional. I remember saying this to you. I think I said this to you. It was almost like you walked in a jazz club and like you were sitting down with your crew and you're like, yeah, you know, all the stuff we rehearsed. Yeah, we're gonna do that set tonight. And y'all just started going. You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm gonna say all the stuff I was telling y'all on the tour bus. I'm doing all that tonight, okay? And they're like, no, you should put all that out there with everybody. No, I'm saying it. I'm singing it tonight. That's how the EP feels. You know what I mean? And this is, to me, the last song before you then go major up-tempo on this rally cry. So what was No Regrets about? What was the background?
No Regrets almost got cut from the EP.
Is that right?
That's what No Regrets was. Yeah, it was the hardest song. I got sick multiple times trying to record that song. Lost my voice. I tried to get other people to sing it. I had to rewrite the hooks. It was just a lot that was happening with that song.
Gotcha.
And me and my friends, one day I woke up and God was just like, you know what? I just want y'all to pray. And so the producer that produced it, Quentin Watts, he was actually at our house in that morning. And so I was like, man, all right, y'all, God is saying for me to let's just pray together. And as we started praying, that's when the hook came. And it was like, we weren't trying to create a hook. It was just, we were praying and we started singing and worshiping. And those words, you love me when I couldn't love myself, just came. And I didn't even think about it until I was in the studio. We were about to record. And I was like, yo, let's do the little worship thing we did in prayer. And let's put that on there. And it just so happened that it fit, it matched, and No Regrets was born, and I had to record that thing 1,005,000 times because one thing about the EP is that I'm singing more than I ever have in my entire life.
Yeah, you sing a lot.
And that in itself is me being vulnerable and transparent because one, I don't identify as a singer. I don't really like singing because I'm not comfortable with it. But it was me putting myself out there and just trying to be vulnerable, even in my talents and my skill sets.
It came out really well. It came out really well. And Quentin, props to him. If he gets a chance to see this, his production. What I loved about his production is the balance of programming and instrumentation.
Yes.
Right? That's what also made it feel like you were in that club because the instrumentation has so much, you couldn't tell what was coming next in the instrumentation because of the way he played the guitar and bass and different things like that. Really nice, complimenting your flow of lyrics and where you were at and the emotion of the song. I mean, he did a really good job with that. So you guys really did well. Yeah.
Quality music.
Yeah, really well. Really well.
Whew, good stuff right there.
So Wake Up Call. Yeah, man. This was like, after hearing, I'm going through the EP and then this comes on. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hold up. What just happened? Love it. The American dream. We work hard so we can live it out. But God can't bless America if we kick him out. Ugh. What up, schools? No.
Right.
What's the point of standing up if we ain't standing out? It's time to start living this life that we're preaching about. Y'all. Bout, like apostrophe B-O.
Yeah.
Bout.
Out.
They say we living in the last days, so I'ma steady put you first till my last day. Even if I stand alone, I know it's better than conforming to a world morals are irrelevant. It's so evident we lie to feel accepted. The face behind the mask is afraid to be rejected. So we neglect the intellect that our spirit speaks. We search the world to be content, but never finding peace. That piece of our peace is only found in you. Well, puzzle, cause a puzzle piece is missing truth. Look around, it's like we searching for that blues clue. We got the knowledge, but we do the things that fools do. That's why I gotta be the difference. It's time to redefine the meaning of a Christian. These hypocrites don't make the people wanna listen, so instead they support these rappers killing off our children. So many rappers, so much talent, competing for a title, man, I just let them have it. They trying to be the best, but I know the greatest. They trying to make it big, I know the one who made it. I hit a model rapper who's a Christian. Some put the rapper first just to get the world to listen, and I get it. But sometimes they take it out of context. Forget about God, they trying to be the one who got next. And we've been purchased by the king, but too many of our souls are repossessed because of greed. Now wait a minute, understand what I mean. Shit we always want to take, but we ain't never taking heed. The American dream, we work hard so we can live it out. But God can't bless America if we kick him out. And what's the point of standing up if we ain't standing out? It's time to start living this life that we preach about. I wake up.
Yeah. There's a whole lot in them 4 lines just to start.
Yeah.
Okay. What talk to me, sis. what's
this whole song is a challenge to me and every believer that is out there who is not doing what they need to be doing. And what I mean by that is not everybody is called to go door to door and knock on doors and share Jesus every single day. But what we are called to do is live out our truth. We are called to represent God in the way that he's gifted us to represent him. And that right there, God can't bless America if we kick it out. I think it's so funny that America was founded on in God we trust. But we are probably one of the most faithless generations of our time, you know. And so it's like that line is just saying, you know, in America, we got third world countries over here who are having, and not even just third world countries, but other countries that are having these glorious experiences where they are seeing miracle signs and wonders, and we are on social media consumed, you know what I'm saying? And we're consumed with ourselves. And so we want God to bless us, because every time I hear pastor, you know, on these little podcasts and stuff, is talking about the blessings of God and things like that. But it's like, we done kicked him out of our time. Like, we don't really spend time with God. We don't really commune with him. We don't really know God like that. We just want his hand, but we don't want to seek his face. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where that line comes from. And that's like, what's the point of standing up? Like, why proclaim that you are a Christian if you look just like all of these other people who don't believe in God? Like, if you're talking just like them, if you walking like them, why are you professing that you're a Christian? There's no point in professing that, because it's like they don't even hear you, dude, because you look just like them, you know. It's time to start this, like, so that's kind of it's really a boom in your face, because this is what I've been feeling. But then it's also a boom in my face, because I had to eat my own words first. The conviction came on me first. Like, when I was writing this, I was talking about myself. And then the more I began to talk about myself, the more I realized, this is applicable to probably about 80% of us anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah. That's where it came from. But, it was, I was checking myself. That's what it was. I was in my feelings one day, because I'm like, yo, E, you know, what's up? Like, you professing that you love Jesus, but you looking kind of lukewarmy today. And so, that's kind of how it came about.
And it's, you know, it's so easy to get caught up with so many different priorities, right? And next thing you know, you swept up in a bunch of different things. You know what I mean? You got your plate full, and you got every month, every minute, every hour allocated and budgeted. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's not healthy. Well, let me ask you this as we start to wrap up. Ultimately, what did you, like, when the project was done, you know, and man, y'all shut the lights off for the last time in the studio. You're like, man, we think those are the mixes. All we got to do now is go to mastering, and, you know, graphics are coming together. Would you kind of look back, you know, say, okay, now the hard, you know, because we always say, well, now the hard work really begins.
Right.
You got to promote this mug, right?
Right. That's the hard part.
Exactly. What did you hope to achieve? What did you kind of say, you know, if the Lord blesses this, these are the things I really want to see out of this EP?
I think the biggest thing was I did not want to look at numbers. That was my number one goal. I was like, I do not want to look at numbers, because regardless to whether numbers can validate this project or not, I know without a doubt that this project is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to look at numbers to either try to encourage me or discourage me. And then the other thing was, if I can just hear people's response, that they say that some type of deliverance happened in their hearts and their minds. And what I mean by deliverance is just, they may have thought one way, or they may have been struggling in one area, but because they played this song, it allowed them to see a different perspective.
Right.
And it allowed them to be, to take a step in another direction that they were previously in.
Right.
And a step towards a better direction, let's say that, for their lives. And so when I released it, I got flooded with just responses and people DMing me, texting me, people sending me messages, crying, videos, just all kind of stuff, like where literally they would tell me that the power of God would show up in the room. Like they would feel not just chills, but like the tangible presence of God. And when I heard that, I realized, like, oh, okay, this is a lot bigger than me. Yes. You know, that this is one for the books, that when people are listening to, that you will walk away and encounter God. Like God is going to meet you in this music. And that to me is the biggest accomplishment, because out of everything that I've written, and I believe that I've written some pretty decent stuff, some pretty not so decent stuff, but in all of it, I think that this is the most tangible music that I have written, where God is showing up in people's rooms. They're showing up through their earbuds. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes. And they're feeling the experience that I went through. Yes. And they are finding themselves in somewhere in that experience and getting encouragement to say, you are not alone. And for me, that right there is the biggest thing. Like having people repost and share and repost and stuff. That's a really, really big deal, because not about just getting the traction, but just knowing that people, like, this project is really changing lives. Like, it's not just a dope sound, but it's actually punching people in the gut and being like, oh my God, like,
love it.
Whoa, I was not expecting God to meet me in this music.
Right. I love it. Love it. That's awesome. Last question. And first of all, let me just say, I'm so honored that you asked us to do the review, because it allowed me to really soak into the project. And it's one of my favorites this year, without a doubt. Really, really enjoy it. Yeah, no doubt. So what advice would you give to up and coming artists, new artists, just starting out, going, man, I don't know where to begin. It all seems so complicated. It's so cluttered.
Yeah.
Erica, where do I start? What give me some advice, girl.
First thing is be yourself. If you don't know yourself, learn yourself before you release music. Like, just learn yourself. And if you don't really, because if you try to act like you everything and you try to act like you got it together, you're giving your audience a false impression. And what that does is that alienates your listeners. So that would be the first thing. Is people, we have so much music out there. The music industry is oversaturated, as we all know. With Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, you can literally listen to anything in the world. The reason why people continue to listen to what they listen to is the story that comes with the music, and so I would tell that person, what is your story? Share your story. That's it. Like, if you can share your story and find a way to capture that, and find just a little bit of courage to be yourself in the midst of your story, then you will be surprised at the response. And don't try to be like me. Don't try to be like Lecrae. Don't try to be like Lil Yachty or Lil Uzi or whoever. Like, be you, and you are the product that will sell, because nobody else can be you. That is the number one thing. And I think that if you look at the way the industry is starting to move with the artists and things, now every artist is coming out with a story. Yeah. You know, everybody's trying to become more transparent and vulnerable and things like that. But a lot of people are doing it for show. You know, they're doing it because that's the way right now. But if you are able to really be honest with yourself and be transparent just enough to where you know that you don't have it all together, and recognize that you're not having it all together as artists, because we want to be great, right? We want to do great things and we want our sound to be perfect and things. But I think people appreciate it when you show.
Right. Yep, that's awesome. And you know, you hit on a really good point there, right? Being authentic is almost becoming in vogue, right? So, but truly be yourself. Don't have manufactured authenticity, right? So.
Yes, and that's so real. It's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing.
Yeah, for real. So, hey, thanks so much for spending the time with me and Holy Culture. Really appreciate it. We'll be praying for you. Big ups. Seek Life EP. All y'all watching, if you haven't got the EP yet, you're sleeping. Okay, pick it up. Seek Life. Erica Mason. Okay, you can go to her website, ericamason.music.com. You can pick it up there. All your retailers that you know about, wherever you stream, pick it up ASAP. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you soon. God bless.
They say we living in the last days, so I'ma steady put you first till my last day. Even if I stand alone, I know it's better than conforming to a world morals are irrelevant. It's so evident we lie to feel accepted. The face behind the mask is afraid to be rejected. So we neglect the intellect that our spirit speaks. We search the world to be content, but never finding peace. That piece of our peace is only found in you. We're puzzled, cause the puzzle piece is missing truth.